Sup, Ryu here for the Yugioh Council. Welcome to the new guide to your side for this weekend. This time we'll be talking about Darklords. Now say what you will, what you must, but Konami has put their trust inside this deck. They believe it's going to be one of the big four decks to watch out for, and I honestly gotta admit, after, watching it actually being played, yeah, I could see why. So, I can't say that they're all hyped. We won't know till they come to the TCG. But I want to make sure you guys are motherfucking ready. So, here we go. Guide to your side, Darklords. So that way, in case they do become good, or you just have a bad matchup against them, you are absolutely ready with the knowledge and the power to deal with them. Now, it should go without saying, but I'll say it anyway. Since Darklords are pretty much newer when it comes to what we deal with, there may be a few cards I leave out, and if I do, make sure to put it in the comment section below, so that way anyone who checks out the video can just scroll down and see what other people have said besides myself. Now, with that said, let's get into the video. When you deal with Darklords, you're dealing with a lot of dark monsters, so the first obvious as anything answer should be Shadow Imprisoning Mirror. Lock down their effects and don't let them basically activate in the graveyard. Now, there's not too much that activates in the graveyard. There's some that activate on the field and some that activate in the hand. So let's focus on the field and grave right now. It's a skill drain for dark monsters. It also works against Phantom Knights, so if you have matchups with Phantom Knights and, say, Darklords at a regionals, you only have to side this one card for the two matches, and that is crucial. That basically helps you out quite a bit. Obviously, the deck's probably going to be ready for it, but you got to be ready for their ready. That's a lot of readies. Shadow Imprisoning Mirror has been such an amazing side deck card for ages, since Teledad's time. And it still has that same power that it did back then. But there is one thing the deck can do, Darklords that is, that you may not suspect until it's too late, and that's Archlord Christia. And the easiest out to Archlord Christia is basically monster removal, and just dealing it that way. But if there's a big Dark Lord on the board and you're scared of it, there's the Kaijus that you can use. If you could bounce the Kaijus back to your hand, you're playing something like your Senju, then that's also a great way of doing it, but it's not going to help you with Christia, because Christia's whole ruling, no special summon, that counts as a special summon. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you can get around Christia with that. It's really late when I record this because I have to head on to an airplane to go to Japan. But I just wanted to make sure you guys are covered. Sea Turtle does work to some degree in this matchup. Maybe just not the best. Dark Hole, I mentioned it, just completely wrecked the board. Put that Christia to the top of the deck, swarm the board, and just win the game. That's pretty much the thing. They do use back row, just not as heavy as you may expect. The thing is, they're going to basically use stuff like Call the Haunted to go to Suburia. Suburia is going to bring back another Dark Lord, and they're going to go from all that. And the newer ones have various effects, so we have to target those too. Raigeki also works if you don't want to use Dark Hole, but I still suggest Dark Hole, Torrential Tribute, Raigeki. Those four together, that's, a 1 in 10 chance of drawing one at the very least, percentage-wise. So there's that. Mind Drain. I did say some of their effects activate in hands. Basically, there's a Dark Lord that's going to allow you to discard and draw 2. Mind Drain stops it. It stops any hand traps, so there's that to take into account as well. For example, with Mind Drain, if they want to play Maxi against you, you can flip up Mind Drain. Maxi is useless. They want to play Veiler. They want to play Ghost Ogre. Those cards are just pooped on right then and there. So Mind Drain's something to consider. The biggest ones are going to be D-Fissure and Macros Cosmos. They're very, very reliant on their graveyard, and being able to completely lock them out is going to be great. Now, I probably shouldn't say just reliant on their graveyard, because they just go through their resources from their deck, put it into the graveyard, and revive it back. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get into that medium section of breaking it down, and every card that gets sent to the graveyard is going to be banished instead. That's pretty much what you're trying to do. So those two different Dimension Ground also works in that whole thing. There's a lot of cards that work across various amounts of matches, and you'll see that throughout these guides to your sides. And sometimes it does get a little, repetitive in that sense, but at the same time, it still nails the point home. that one card can be cited against like 5 matchups. Maxi, for all the special summonings that they do, it's a great card. You'll basically get your resources. I know it's semi-limited, but you go without saying, Maxi still matters. Hashtag Maxi still matters. DD Crow, I don't know how to really, like, I put DD Crow here because it's one of those things that you could banish out when they go for the Siberia target. There's that. Where they go to activate something in the grave, DD Crow just selects it and chains to it. So there's that as well. And then if you have something that can abuse it being in the graveyard, like, say, Chaos Dragons, wink wink, then you can use DD Crow to get that free dark in the graveyard while also nullifying your opponent. I would say Fable Catsmith, but the problem is with that card, it's not that bad. It's not bad at all. The problem is you need a discard with it, and if you don't have something to discard with it, then why would I even bring it up outside of like Blue Eyes and whatnot, to be fair. But that is another option we'll mention. Mistake slows them down from their surge power. That's one of the 2 ways of dealing with them, is like Mistake and Macros Cosmos together. That's disgusting. Don't you dare. You should totally do that. It's just nasty. It's a Floodgate deck. Solemn Strike, Bottomless. Just completely keep them off the board. Solemn Warning. Don't let them come on the board and swarm you, because the second they get to swarm you, they ain't going to stop swarming you. And then it just ain't good. It ain't good. Ain't isn't the word. But it's a terrible situation when they just put everything on the board and they dominate all over you. Crevice into the different dimension. I find myself often talking about this card more and more as we get closer and closer to these other decks that are getting more and more and more and more and more and more powerful. Because you choose an attribute and then banish out 2 monsters in your opponent's graveyard that have that attribute. So if I say water and I hit, say, Run Toad and Swap Frog, that's how basically the card works. So since we're talking about Darklords, I would hit 2 dark monsters and take it from there. Now, by some chance, if, I don't know, for the random ass time that would happen, and Archlord Christia gets traded in, then you can call light, and as long as there's 2 lights in there, you can banish them both out and never have to worry about that Christia being special summoned by Call the Haunted, you son of a bitch. That's a thing. Dark Lords are very, very fast, aggressive. They kind of remind me of Teledad in some degrees. Tons of search power. They got everything going for them that they need. When I talk about a meta deck, that's pretty much what I look at. And I do think they're going to be up there. Maybe you don't, but I think they got what it takes. Vanity's Emptiness and Vanity's Fiend, stop the special summons. Hashtag stop the special summons. Hashtag make special summons great again. Okay, that's enough of that. In all seriousness, Vanity's Emptiness basically just says no special summon. Vanity's Fiend is the body version, and they're going to have a hard time jumping over the body version because there are a lot of big booty-o monsters for Dark Lords. I don't think they run too many small monsters, so it's a lot harder for them to get over. Fossil Dyna, this again works like Vanity's Emptiness and Vanity's Fiend, where basically you're going to just sit there and say, no special summon for you, no bueno. I keep saying no bueno throughout these videos, and I'm not even sure if that's right, so if I'm incorrect, you have my apologies. I'm terrible. I have a friend who says that to me all the time, so I don't know what the hell he's saying. Anyways, Droll and Lockbird. This is the one that I will stress is probably the best one to use against the deck and against a lot of the draw power you're going to be seeing. Droll and Lockbird's an interesting card. The deck has so much draw power between Trade-In, Allure, the Dark Lord that does it for them. And then if you play something like Droll and Lockbird, they don't get none of that. And then it's just like they'll get the first one and that's it. And that may seem like a bad situation. You'll be like, you know, let's be real here. They're still going to get the first draw, but they don't get nothing else besides that. That gives you time to collect resources. That gives you time to play out of the situation. That slows down the deck dramatically to a point that you could probably get back in there and have your matchup just sway into your favor over their favor, which is always a good thing. You don't want them having any advantage at all. So anytime you can take advantage from them is one that you want to do. And Droll and Lockbird, I cannot stress enough how good this card is, people. I cannot. But honestly, for this deck, it's going to hurt the living hell out of them. Royal Prison, any monster that's special summoned out of the graveyard is nope. It's not happening. It's one that you can use. It's one that I don't usually recommend for various reasons because there's not too many other decks that are going to get stuff out of the graveyard as much. But hey, if you find use for it, more power to you. And for the last two, I want to talk about Banisher the Radiant. It's a body version of Macros Cosmos. I think a lot of people seem to forget about him. There's also Kaiku the Ghost Destroyer if you want to go the slower route, but I really don't recommend it, to be completely fair. And finally, because it's a deck that uses spell cards through the roof to get draw power, you could use Anti-Spell Fragrance. Do I recommend it? Heck no. Do I think it's viable? Yeah, it probably is to some degree. But honestly, I think Shadow and Prison Mirror and Droll and Lockbird are probably your two best bets throughout the entire matchup. Now, if there's a matchup you would like me to talk about, regardless of how relevant it is, make sure to let me know down in the comment section and I will make it happen. The next two planned Guide to Your Sides should be Magispectre and Metaphor, because both of those decks are seeing a lot of play one of them seeing a lot of play right now. And I believe the other one's probably going to see play after we get Invasion of Venom, with their full support being Metaphor, because I just think that's going to happen. But if there's one that you need help with, do not hesitate. Do not. That's what I'm here for. And there's 48 weeks in a year, and we got to do Guide to Your Side like every week. I'm trying to make that happen. If we got to talk about decks that are not completely relevant, it's cool because then it's something completely different. So if those decks become relevant, then we have this video to go back to. And of course, as decks change over time and get stronger and faster, we can talk about those new ones. I'm Ryu for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Council. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to slap that subscribe button. I gotta go catch a plane, and I'll see you tomorrow. Good night. Peace.